Thanks. Not everybody clapped. That was a little disappointing, I'm going to be honest with you. Oh, I don't like your guys' attitude right now. Here's the deal. You came here. I didn't break into your house to start doing this, so let's get into it. Because right now you're treating me like you were having a barbecue and I just kicked over the fence to start telling jokes. That's not what happened. Screw it. Let's get out of here. What do you guys want to do? Want to go to Whole Foods, pool our money, and buy an apple? All right, some of you laughed. Some of you laughed. Some of you didn't laugh. The judges didn't laugh because they're so rich they have no idea. Is Whole Foods expensive? What goes on there? Yeah. $16.99 a pound for apples is expensive. They charge that much because all the women wear yoga pants when they shop there, and they know men will pay $16.99 a pound.
If you're wondering who that Elvis impersonator was, that was Ian Bagg, who joins us right here on Lee's Open Mic. Good to see you, buddy.
Elvis impersonator.
That shirt. There was a lot of flair going on. There was a lot of flair going on.
The last days of Elvis impersonator. Who was that chubby Elvis impersonator? That was Fatty McGee.
It is good to see you.
It's good to see you.
First of all, let me give you my impression of you, or your act.
Okay.
It is a high wire act, which is fascinating for other comics.
Oh, okay.
So from my perspective is there is there's a palpable fear before any comic goes on stage.
Right.
But they rely upon jokes that work for the most part. Right. And then I think it's average to say, you can agree with me or not, you'll have like 10% of your act that you'll play with.
There's actually more hidden in there than you realize.
Okay, well that's because the technique is good. But you still do more crowd work than any other comic that I know. Is that true from your experience?
I do about 50%, yeah.
50% is an incredible number.
I do.
Because I'm telling you, most comics would only do 5 or 10% of that at the most.
Yeah, but I'm not most comics.
No, you're not.
I'm an Elvis impersonator.
So what I mean is you go up there and whatever organically happens is going to happen, and that's the show.
That's the show. The show is basically hanging out with your buddies. Yeah. That's basically, because if you really think about when you laugh the hardest, it's when you're hanging out with friends, somebody says something else, somebody says something this, somebody else taps on top of that.
It's created, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it just happens on the moment, spur of the moment, and just kind of, everything just spins out of control. That's the best way. I got into stand-up thinking that's the way it worked. So that's the way I do it, yeah. So.
But there has to be moments when either because of exhaustion.
Exhaustion actually works quite well for
Really?
me. Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be to a certain level of exhaustion where it becomes you become giggly.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, giggly. A little punch drunk helps out.
Yeah.
Because some people are like, oh, you're an insult comic, and I'm not an insult comic. I'm basically, you tell me a story and I let my imagination run wild and change the story for you. It's not about
make it absurd.
Make it absurd. I'm not about making the person feel bad about themselves. I'm about making them try to see the painting that's in my head of what I seen them paint. Yeah. So that's the way it works.
No, I'm just.
And if you keep asking me questions about it, you'll slowly see me spin out of control trying to explain what I do. That's the funny part about.
As your life coach, Ian.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is.
Rein it in. Rein it in.
Don't rein it in. It's just like, my God, man, you're working harder than you should.
No.
It feels like that. No, I know you're having fun and you're enjoying yourself, but because I know you have a level of expectation as to what you want to deliver. Yeah. But the anxiety, and you may be past that at the moment, but I'm thinking, wow, this guy is working so hard to create.
No. I honestly, it's more stressful, and it's more work, and it is difficult when I have to do just a set without crowd work. When I have to make things, because everything's a conversation, so when there's nobody to bounce off of, it makes it much more difficult.
So what we were seeing on Last Comic Standing, though, you must have employed some discipline in that.
I had a lot of discipline in that, and I just kind of, instead of talking to the crowd, I talked to the judges. Right. That was the way I did it. I just kind of.
Which I thought was brilliant.
Oh, thanks, man.
I know, I loved it, and I thought, because you got to still be you. While doing that, I could see Ian Bagg. It wasn't you doing a facsimile of a comic.
I think you got a taste of what I am. Yeah. Like I kept true to my roots, and you got a taste of what I am. And when you come out and see me, you get the full cake.
It's a triple tier deal.
Oh, it's a triple tier. I tell you what.
Yeah.
I tell you what. I'm a wedding cake. I'm a man on top of a good cake.
You grew up in Canada.
Grew up in Canada.
Who
Yep.
who were some of the guys that you were going? Oh, I want to be that guy.
Jonathan Winters.
Yeah.
Which kind of explains the way it
Improv.
goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or to a little extent, Robin Williams.
Yeah.
But Jonathan Winters, Sam Kinison, which is my reverence, and Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
Because I love to put a girl to sleep. No, when I say about that picture that I hope people can see, I remember sitting and listening to Cosby albums, and I could see what he was saying, and that's what my dream was. I was like, this guy, I don't even need to be there, but I can see what he's saying.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And Winters, man, when I would watch him inhabit a character,
Yeah.
like there's this moment he does on the Frank Sinatra roast that Dean Martin would host.
Yeah.
And he was Frank's bus driver or whatever.
Yeah.
That is, check that out.
Yeah, it's so he was amazing, and he was also on a show when I was probably about 12 years old with Randy Quaid. No, Dennis, which is the one that went crazy.
Randy,
yeah, where he played the grandfather. And,
I don't remember this.
And yeah, he was really funny to me. And also, he was Jonathan Winters' son on Mork and Mindy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So.
Is there an advantage Canadians have over
Not at all, buddy.
Americans when it comes to comedy? Because it seems like there's a lot of Canadian comics that like Norm Macdonald who.
A little bit. The only thing that I would say our advantage of is growing up on the outside of the circle. So some things that Americans can't see about themselves, I can see about them. So that's the only advantage. But otherwise, work papers are really difficult to get.
Yeah. Well, does that work in reverse? Do American comics get an advantage when they go to a Canadian city and perform?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. Because Canadians will hear that an American's coming, and they're like, well, this guy must be good. Right. Like, seriously, because he lives where entertainment happens, so he must be good, right? Right. I remember when I first started in comedy, I started in Canada, and these guys would come up, and they had headline, and some of them were really, like, amazing, and others were just like, I was like, oh, guys, kind of expected more. And then you get down here, and I'm living down here, and these guys are opening for me. And I'm like, oh, you guys have tricked the Canadians into thinking you're stars. But some of the guys would come up. Mark Pitto was a guy that used to come up from San Francisco, and he'd blow the roof off the club like I'd never seen before, like huge. I remember him following Howie Mandel one night and just killing. Drake Sather was another guy that used to come up that was just brilliant, yeah.
And what about the Southern comics that I'm fond of, like Tim Wilson, God rest his soul. Those guys, were you impressed with that? Because just the Canadian ear, when you hear that accent, what does that do for you? Does that make it funny or not? Because for us, it does for some reson.
Well, of course, I think the Southern accent. I was always I married Southern because I just always, something about the Southern accents always dragged me to it, like to listen to it. But there was a weird little thing with the being from the North and from the West, and just starting out. I started out in Vancouver, then I moved to New York. So I would say I was gone within a year of starting out in Vancouver. I was living in New York. There's a little separation between North and South comics. Like if the Civil War still exists, it's in comedy. Like there is a difference between Northern comics and Southern comics. Yeah. And once I started to get to know the guys, I was just like, love them, yeah.
Well, Ian Bagg, if you ever get a chance to see Ian live, it's an event in itself, and it's always fun. Good to see you, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks for doing this. I appreciate it. All right, guys, that'll do it from this version of Lee's Open Mic.